Hi all, so I'm just going to teach you the basic single crochet, but what I'm going to do is, instead of just teaching you how to do a square that's useless, I'm going to teach you how to do a little mini square that will be great for a makeup remover pad, a little face wash pad, a little face scrubby, and then I'm going to teach you how to do it in the round as well, so that you can also use this as a little face scrubby, a makeup remover pad, whatever you fancy. They will be separate videos, but I will release them on the same day. So I'm going to do the square first, so you get used to how to do a basic single crochet in the square, and then I will show you how to do it with increases to get it into the round. They're both really simple, but I thought this might be a fun little way of learning a stitch and actually having something useful at the end, without having to make a big square for a cushion or something. So we're going to get started. Okay, so we're going to make this square with this cotton yarn here. This is 100% mercerised cotton, and it's from Yarn and Colours. It's their must-have minis range, but any 100% mercerised cotton will do. Any cotton will do. This is 4-ply yarn, so it's smaller than DK. We're just using a nice little 4-ply here. And I'm doing this with a 3mm hook. So, I'm afraid I don't know what letter all that is, because I work in millimetres, but if you just look up 3mm hook, it should tell you what the equivalent letter is. So this is really simple because it's just your basic single crochet, but I'm going to start it with a foundation chain rather than a chain. I call it the chainless start. I don't know what the real name of it is. I think it is something like foundation chain, but I will include in the description what it's properly called. I never remember. So we need to start with 18 stitches. If you want to do a chain and not the way I'm doing it, just do 19 stitches. But I'm going to do it without a chain because I just prefer it. So you make your slip knot like you normally would, and then let's see, probably going to want to zoom in a little so you can see my hands. Oops. See how that is for you, shall we? So we're going to yarn over and just pull through our slip knot there, look. And then yarn over and pull through again. So we've now got 2 chains. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the back hump. You can go through both there, but I like to leave the wreath on the edge because it gives a neat finish on the edge if you leave the wreath. So I always go through the back loop, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But we're just going to go through the back loop of that slip knot that we did. So just there, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Now because we're making our chain stitch and our first row simultaneously, we're going to do something a little different for this first row than you do for all the rest of the normal single crochet stitches. This is single crochet American terms. This will be double crochet in UK terms. So as we've pulled through here, we're going to actually yarn over and pull through just that first one again. That's now created the chain, and now we're going to yarn over and pull through both of these, and that is now our single crochet. So we're going to need to go through again. That chain we just created is where we're going to go through. We're going to go underneath both legs of it, so you now have that V on the top there. So it's basically gone similar like we went through there, but we're going through this side now. So then we're going to yarn over and pull through, and then remember, because we need to do the chain first, we're going to yarn over again and pull through 1, then yarn over and pull through 2. That means we've created the chain and the stitch. So again, we're going to go through the next one we just done here. We've just created this chain. We go through both like that. So now we have 1, 2 and 3 here. Yarn over, go through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over and pull through 2. And we're just going to repeat this process of going through the last chain you created, yarning over, pulling through, yarn over, create the chain, yarn over, create the single crochet. If you remember to always create the chain and then create the single crochet, this should be a pretty easy step for you. So can you see how they're linking through? So our next one is here because we want to link in to that stitch. Can you just see the V here that we created? Let me lift it up a little. You see that there? That's where we're going in that hole there. So you're picking up these 2 V's, okay? So just go through, yarn over, pull through, and then remember, create the stitch, the chain stitch, and then create the double crochet, the single crochet, or double crochet UK terms. And remember, we're going to want 18. In this case, we only need to make the 18. We don't need to do the 1 extra because we're doing 2 lines simultaneously. Okay, so meet me back here when you have 18 of these created. Okay, so we have our 18. So what you can see, so we have our bottom chain there, and then we also have our top chain. That's our new stitches. As you can see, we've got the single chain and the single crochets all created in one go. So all we're going to do is chain 1 just like you would normally chain 1, and just flick your work because you're now going to work back across the top. So before we were going into the bottom and creating our chain and then our stitch. Now the work is turned so that we're now working across the top of our stitches for the second row, so we're now making the third row. So if I show you on here how it looks, you see this is the chain row we created, and this one in here, this is the single crochet row we created, which we're now going to work in to create the next row. Does that make sense, hopefully? So for a normal single crochet row, or double crochet for UK terms, we're just going to find the V, the 2 stitches, because we're going to go through both loops for this. So there's your V. You can see your holes are just, grab my little hook here. See, so when you're on here, if you look carefully, you can spot there's a little hole, it's hard, just in there, look, which has the 2 V's. There's your V, your 2 legs of the stitch. And that's what you're going into each time, that hole there where it has just the 2 on the top. Let's just pull that tight again. So, this is what went along. I still go into that first stitch. Some people will miss it, but I go into it because you want to make sure you keep 18 stitches, and it's easier to go into there than to try to go into that chain you created. Which is a mistake some people have that ends up making your pieces go crooked. So this will keep it straight. So basically the chain one is there to help you turn, but it's not really the stitch. You just want to ignore it and go in to this stitch. So we're just going to go in, yarn over, pull through, and we've got 2. And now because we're doing the normal row and not creating a chain as well, we're just going to yarn over, and pull through 2 again. So into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. Find your next stitch. Remember, always look for your 2 little legs, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And can you see how it's creating that row for you? So there's the stitches, and we're just going to go along and do this all the way along, and this is all we're going to do for the whole square. Just keep going through your stitch, making sure you've got your 2 legs, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and go through 2. And this is your single crochet US and double crochet UK. Ooh. Try to keep your tail from getting tangled like I do. So this is all it is to create the basic single crochet stitch. I do tend to use American terms because that's what I was taught in, even though I'm actually British. But use whichever terms you find more comfortable. I know quite a few British people who use American terms and quite a few who use the British terms. It's entirely up to you which one you find. Though you do need to make sure when reading a pattern you know which terms they are using. It usually says on the pattern which one it is. So you've gone across and you check your stitches. When you're first beginning, always check your stitches and make sure you haven't missed one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 and then 17. And then just on the end here, which is where most people miss, you've got your 18th. Now it's a little fiddly. You kind of got to work into the tiny stitch there, but you see there is still 2 legs. You just have to get into it and do your stitch. And that's your 18. Okay, no, I went into the wrong place. Try not to increase in a stitch. Gotta work it. There we go, into the stitch. We pulled it up there. See, so it's a little fiddly, but there's your 18 stitches. So you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and now we're just going to work across again. So remember, make sure you go into this first stitch here. It's right underneath where your hook is, but you need to make sure you go into it. So go through, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and 2. So this is the entire process. So I'm just going to meet you back when we've done. How many rows do we need? We need 18 rows to create the same size square that we've done. Now different tensions will mean you'll need different stitch counts and different stitch row counts to get the same size as me. But when you're beginning, it doesn't really matter. You just want a rough size. So just have fun making them, and it doesn't matter if they come out a bit smaller or a bit bigger. Though if they come out much smaller than mine, you might want to loosen up your tension because it's probably too tight. If you don't know what your tension is, that's how you're holding your yarn to how tight your stitches are. If you're really struggling, if it's a real struggle to get your hook through, your chances are your tension's too tight, so loosen your grip on your yarn a little. Whereas if your tension's too loose, if I just hold that there and without much tension and poke it through. You see how that stitch is much bigger than those stitches because my tension was looser. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does affect your gauge when making things. So this would make the item much bigger and have larger holes because of how loose it is. You see the difference in there compared to there. So try to keep your tension reasonably even, but without being so tight that you can't get your stitches through, because trust me, that would be a pain. And remember, when you're first beginning, always lay down your work and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, because I've made sure I've gone in that last stitch. So always make sure you're getting that very first stitch just underneath your hook and that very last stitch, which sometimes can be a little fiddly to see. So always check by recounting at each row just until you've got the hang of it. Once you've done a few of these, you'll know where to see the stitches and you won't have to count. But for now, just make sure you count your stitches, okay? So we're going to chain one and turn again as usual and go forward. So I will do this and I will see you back when we've done 18 rows. So I'm just doing the last couple of rows now. So I've done most of this off camera because I figured you wouldn't need to see it, but we're just going to do the last couple on camera. But you'll see that my tension actually changes on camera than it is off camera because of the angle I need to hold it. So I'm going to show you the two different ones. The one that I made when I was off camera, my sample piece, and the one that I started on camera and finished on camera, which I've tried to keep the tension the same all the way through. So you can see the slight differences that tension does make. Pull me yarn, my balls ran away and I couldn't be bothered to pick it up, so it's just rolling around the floor right now. Let's just do this last row here and then we're all done. If I can just get my yarn to not run away so much. Teach me for being lazy and not picking it up, won't it? These are really simple to finish off. So just do these last few stitches and I will show you how to finish off. Okay, so we've just done the last stitch, number 18 in the row, and all we're going to do is do a chain one like you normally would, but then we're just going to snip the yarn. So just snip the yarn, leave a good tail because you want a good tail to weave in the ends, and then you're just going to pull that stitch all the way through and give it a little tug, and that secures it, and then you're just going to weave in that end. You'll weave in both ends into your finished product and that'll hide the ends. So this is the one I made previously off camera, my normal tension, and then on camera you see it's a little looser and it's actually a little bigger. You see how it's a little tiny, not a huge amount, but it is a tiny bit bigger, and that's, we put them side by side and you can see the different intention, and it doesn't matter whether you're making them this size or this size. Just try to keep an even tension if you're making a set, but on camera my tension is a little looser because I try to make sure the stitches are easier for you guys to see. Off camera I can see the stitches just fine, so I can go a bit tighter, but it would be harder for you to see where the gaps are if I'd done that on camera, so I always tend to work a little looser on camera than off camera. But that's how your tension can affect it. Even the slightest change can affect the size, and they both look good, so it doesn't matter which ones you're doing. Just try to be consistent and have the same tension throughout, and it'll still come out approximately square. Okay, so when you're weaving in your ends, you just want to grab a needle and you're going to sew backwards and forwards through. I will actually show you how to do it just so you know. So I have this needle, it's just a basic yarn needle, but this one has a squishy end, which I prefer to use for smaller projects because the needle obviously needs to be small enough to go through, and eyes are obviously bigger on most needles, and so this squishes down and it doesn't damage it. I use a metal one on a bigger project, but on small ones like this I'll always use the thing. So we just thread the needle. On here it's really easy. Those who have trouble threading a needle, something I was taught years ago, no matter what needle is, if you just hook the yarn over the eye, turn the eye so the eye's sideways up like that, and hook the yarn over it and pull it tight, then pull out the eye, you've got a little tiny gap that then fits through the eye. Now with something this big, you know, it doesn't really matter, you can just thread it through, but if you have trouble, just try that. That's how I do it. So you want to decide which is your back of your work. As you turn backwards and forwards on this, there isn't really a back and front, so it doesn't matter, but pick one, and you're going to weave in the ends. So just make sure you've got that pulled tight, and then go down through. Now I go, and I don't know if you can see this very well, but I go underneath some of these stitches, but also go through the stitches, split the yarn so that you're going through, because that holds it in better. So don't just go under the stitch, separate it off so you're going through the stitch. So you're going through the actual yarn and splitting it, because when that closes over back into its natural position, that will actually hold the yarn in better. So you're just going to hide it in there. You want to go in a few different directions so that it's less likely to move. So I've just gone that way, so I'm going to go down a little. So as I said, try to split it a little. You can go under some stitches, but just also split the yarn so that it's more secure. Pull it, so I've gone down, so I'm going to go back the other way. You might want to turn this around if you're not able to sew with your left hand, but I am. So we're just splitting this. I don't know if you can see that. Going through and splitting the yarn. But you want to split in between the plies, don't actually go through a single ply, because then you could weaken the yarn. See, so we've gone back through. You see, and it's hardly noticeable, but it just secures it. I tend to go back up, so I've almost done a complete square. Give it a little tug, and then just snip as close as you can so that the little bit doesn't stick out. There, and that's my end woven in, and you don't see it from that side, and you, unless you're looking really hard, you don't really see it there. It's slightly thicker but barely noticeable, and that's how easy it is just to weave in the ends. So I'll do the same on that side off camera, but that is your basic single crochet square that make great little face scrubbies, little makeup removers, which are much better to use than the disposable cotton pads, because it's cheaper, quite frankly. Just wash this and reuse it as many times as you like, and they withstand quite a lot of scrubbing thing on it. They're really quite tough. You know, you can pull it out, and once you wash them, that goes back into shape. I mean, it goes back into that sort of shape once it's washed, so it doesn't matter if you scrub it and pull it around. You know, they're designed to be moved around, and they're just washed back into a nice neat shape, so don't worry about it. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. I am going to film this one now, so do check the next video about to come out after this one to see how to do the same stitch but in the round. Okay, so you take care. Bye.